I'm going to start today by introducing you to our demonstration program. It's an amortization calculator, so we'll provide it with a principal, a rate, and a term in months, and it will first calculate what that payment amount should be, and then it'll calculate and display the entire amortization schedule. So what the balance is, what the principal payment is, what the interest payment is, etc. The program runs on a Windows machine and accepts input from the command line and displays output back to the screen. So in future sessions, we will decompose this program to the user interface, the accepts and displays, and the functionality, the calculations, so that we can create a service, if you will, out of the functionality and then put different interfaces on it. So it can be called from Java or C# or as a web service. And we'll show that in future sessions. So first, let me introduce you to the program. We'll run it. First, it's going to ask us for the principal balance. We'll just do 100,000. It's going to ask us for the term in months. Now, just to make this fit on the screen, we'll just use 24 months. And an interest rate, and we'll use 5.5%. So when I hit enter, it takes those inputs, calculates the payment. You'll see that stays the same across all. And then for each of those payments, what the principal, interest, and then the remaining balance is. And finally, at the end, it calculates the total interest paid for the term of the loan. Now let's take a look at the program inside of Visual COBOL for Eclipse. So here I have the same program loaded inside of Visual COBOL for Eclipse. This is the version 9 product. And let's take a look at the flow of this program to get a better understanding. So I'll right click on the program, and from the context menu, I'm going to show the program flow graph. Okay. So we can see that from the procedure division, we start, and when I mouse over it, you'll see the content of each paragraph. First, we do the user input. Then we're going to do the amort schedule. It has two subordinate paragraphs, or calc payment is going to figure out what the payment is. Then we're going to move some data around, and then we're going to come back and calculate the amortization. And finally, we're going to move to the print schedule paragraph and show the results here. So the next thing I want to show you here is that there are some coding issues here that probably wouldn't pass a normal code review. So as we just look through this, a couple things stick out. One is here I have pic is uppercase and here it's lowercase. Down here it's referred to as picture. So we'd like to see some consistency in this. Some of my variable names are lowercase, some of them are uppercase. As we scroll further down, it appears that there's a hierarchy here. So these performs are indented, but they're not. If we go back up to this out data paragraph, I got 3s and 5s at the same level. So we should see some indentation here. We're not. Again, there's indentation problems here on the amort schedule paragraph. If we scroll down a little bit further, here I can see that I'm computing my interest with an equals symbol. Here I'm checking my month with the equals keyword. Again, this all works fine, but we generally like to see some consistency in the coding standards. Again, scrolling down here, these paragraphs have a period on the last statement. These ones have it on their own line, this calc payment paragraph. So we're going to see what we can do to clean some of that up. And there's some functionality within Visual COBOL that's going to help with this. So first, let me just take this out data paragraph. The strikeouts are because those aren't referenced directly in the program. So that's normal. So I'm going to highlight that out data paragraph. And then from the source menu, I'm going to do a format. Okay. And you'll see that I now have my indentation as I like. If I see the pink bar on the left, that's basically showing us where changes have made. If I mouse over that, it'll show you the original content. So you'll see that, that wasn't, didn't have the indentation, and now it did. So I'll just do a Control Z here and undo that change. That's what it looked like originally. And I'm going to show you some of the options that we have for formatting and some cleaning up the code. So I'm going to go off the window menu for preferences, and under the microfocus option, under COBOL, under code style, a couple things I'll show you here. First, the cleanup. These are the general rules that I've set up, and we'll just edit those and show you the options. So I'm going to prefer my keywords be uppercase. So program ID, procedure division, go back, my statements, etc. will make those uppercase. Similar to my identifiers, so my variable names, etc. I'd also like those to be uppercase. Things I don't care about, whether it's ID division or identification division, I could just leave no preference and that'll stay as it was without making any changes. I'm going to change all my pics or pictures to pic. Some of the other things I'm not going to change here. I'm going to do symbols for my operator, so greater than symbols, so the word greater than or equal symbol instead of the word equals. And then clauses, I'm going to remove them if they're not required. So that's an idea of the cleanup. Now let's look at the formatting options. So the formatting that we have here, I'm gonna I can set my margins. I can change things in a couple different, in all the different divisions. I'm gonna align all my data item clauses at 32, so they'll be nicely spaced. And just the other options that you can set to make your code look the way you like. I'm going to put my periods on their own line and so forth. So let me apply those changes, and then we'll just go ahead and format this program. So I'm going to do the source menu. We're going to format with cleanup. Okay, and okay, so it looks like I've just had that section highlighted again. So let me do the whole program. So we'll just do a source, format with cleanup. Okay, there, we've done the whole program now. So you'll see all my picture clauses here are all nicely lined up. They're all uppercase, even the ones that were lowercase. So if I show you the old, you'll see that the loan info here was lowercase and didn't have any spacing in it. Some of the pictures, now they're nice uppercase, so forth. Everything's lined up. I still got my periods here. So let's go ahead and fix that change. I'm going to go back into my window, preferences, and for my formatter, we'll edit that. And we will find the procedure division option to change my period from fixed to end of statement. Okay, make that change, apply and close. And let's do that again. So we're gonna then, there's my periods that are off. Let's do source and format with cleanup. Okay, now you'll see my periods are where I'd expect them as well. So just nice to clean that program up. I'll save that. Okay, so we've done a recompile. Now again, if I were to show you the paragraph flow view again, now when I mouse over these, you'll see everything's going to line up nicely. So we've made those changes and just kind of cleans up our program a bit for us. Now that we've cleaned up the code so it looks the way we'd like it to, we're going to refactor this so that we isolate the functionality that we'd like to reuse, which is this amort schedule paragraph and its subordinates, from the user input paragraph and the print schedule. So basically we're taking the user interface and leaving that in the main program, and we're going to take the functionality that we want to reuse as a service and create that in a component of its own that's callable. So to do that, I'm going to start by double clicking on the amort schedule in the diagram to take me to the paragraph that I want to refactor. I'm going to right click on that paragraph, and from the refactor menu, I'm going to choose the option to extract the section and paragraph to a program. Okay. So this is going to, as it says, create a self-contained COBOL program from the new section paragraph and modify the original to call that. So I'm going to call my program that I'm going to create, AMRT service. COBOL. Okay, and let's go ahead and preview the changes that we're going to make. So I'll hit the preview. Visual COBOL is now deciding how to set up an interface for this and isolate that logic. So if we just take a look at what we see, the refactored source for the Amort Calc program is going to have a new section in working storage that's going to be the inputs and outputs necessary to pass, in this case, the month, principal, learn, term, and rate, and then receive the schedule. If we scroll down a little further, what you're going to see is that where I had this Amort schedule paragraph doing its work before, what it's now doing is populating that linkage and then calling the service program. If we go down a little further, the green sections are removed from the original program and replaced with the red. So if we keep going down, you'll see that the paragraph that does the functionality for calculating the payment and calculating the amortization schedule are going to get moved over. And then if we look at the program we're creating, this is the new service program. So we have the header information about what we're creating and where it came from. We have in it the working storage necessary to execute the program. We have the linkage, which is to receive the data. And then we're going to have the functionality from that we've refactored from the original program. So I'll go ahead and say OK. We'll make those changes. Now you'll see that I have an Amort Calc and an Amort service program. And it's added that Amort service program here to the debugger. So let's walk through those. We'll go ahead and debug those. So I'm going to pick my Amort Calc program, and I'm going to debug this as a COBOL application. Okay, so we'll start up the debugger. I'm going to put a couple breakpoints in here. So we're already at this first line. I'm going to put a breakpoint for the performing of the 25 Amort schedule paragraph and for the printing of that. And then I'm going to go over to my service program and I'm going to put a couple breakpoints in there. We'll start at the beginning of the program and we'll put another one before we go back. So as we're stepping through the Amort Calc program, the original program that's now been retrofitted, you'll see it's going to display the principal and accept that on the screen. So we'll go ahead and put a principal balance in here. Make this 100,000. Okay, we're back in the debugger. I'm just going to head and run that until we get to our next breakpoint. Okay, so the term in months, we'll make that 60. And the interest rate, we'll make that 5.75. Okay, now we're in our next breakpoint inside the IDE. So when we now perform the Amort schedule paragraph, we'll see what it's doing is setting up linkage, making a call to our service program. Now we're in the service program. Now we're populating its working storage and then performing the calculations as we did in the original program where we've moved these paragraphs over to the service program. So we'll go ahead and run to the end of this program. Now we're at the end of the service program we've created, the component, if you will. I'm back in the calling module. We're repopulating the working storage from the linkage, from the call that we've made to this subordinate program from that linkage we've passed. And I'm going to let this run. We'll get to the print schedule section next. Now we're back in the original program that still has the user interface logic, so it's going to start echoing the schedule. You'll see that appearing here on the left as we walk through, and we'll go ahead and run this to the end. Okay, and it closed, but it basically ran the entire program and then ended that program. So if we look at this now, I'm going to go back to the Amort Calc program. Actually, I'm going to go back to the development perspective, the COBOL perspective. And again, let's look at the diagram. Okay, this is what the diagram looked like before. Let's refresh that. So we'll do the program flow again. Okay, now you'll see that it has the user input. This paragraph now calls the other program, the service program we've created. And similarly, if we look at the service program and show you the graph from that. Okay.
you'll see that this program now copies the input data into working storage, performs the amort schedule paragraph and its subordinates, and then copies the output data back to linkage, where it's passed back to the calling program. So that example started with a program that had the business logic and the presentation logic in it. We created a callable component from the business logic, retrofitted the original program to now call that component, and it behaves exactly as it did from a user standpoint before we ran this. So it takes the same inputs, puts the same outputs out, functions in the same way, but we now have that reusable component.